There are a variety of reasons that you might want to crop your image in Photoshop. Cropping can eliminate unnecessary or unwanted information that doesn't reinforce the narrative of the image, or perhaps the aspect ratio of the capture device doesn't match the framing that you have in mind for the photograph. Or you might need to crop an image in order for it to work within the limitations of your design or layout. Or maybe, like in this image, you've got too many filters on your camera in order to slow down the exposure, and you can actually see those filters on the edges. So whatever the reason, let's take a look at the crop tool. I can select it by tapping the C key, and Photoshop places a crop marquee around the entire image. But you can also just click in the image area in order to create your own crop, as long as you haven't already moved the edges. So I'll just drag out a crop right here. Now you can reposition the crop by moving the image within that crop. You can also use any of the handles in order to resize the crop. And as you drag, you'll notice that it is not constrained, so I can really make this crop any dimensions that I want. But if I do want to constrain it, then I can enter in an aspect ratio. And I can either select an aspect ratio from the list here, or you can just type in an aspect ratio. Here it's set to 2:3, but if I want to exchange it so it's 3:2, I can either click on the two arrows here or just tap the X key to exchange the width and height. If I want to remove that aspect ratio, I can click on the clear button. There are a number of different overlays that I can display by clicking on the overlay icon, for example, the rule of thirds or the grid, and I can toggle through these by tapping the O key. So there's my grid, and we can just toggle on through these. Now, whether or not you want to see these all the time is up to you. So you might want to choose to auto show as opposed to always show. Now with auto show, they're only going to be displayed as I actually reposition the crop handles, and then they will be hidden as soon as I release the crop handles. You can also use the gear icon to change what is displayed. So for example, tapping the H key will toggle on or off the show cropped areas, which is the area outside of the crop marquee. You can also enable the crop shield and change, for example, the opacity. So if you want to see more of your image in order to make your crop, or less of the image, basically by dimming it back, you can change the opacity here. I personally just usually leave the opacity, I believe it's set at around 75% or so, and then I'll just use the H key in order to hide or show the areas outside of the crop. Now, by default, delete cropped pixels is on, which means if I apply this crop now, Photoshop's actually going to delete all of the pixels that are outside of the crop. And if we look at our layers panel, you'll notice that I have a background. That's because this image came in as a background, but it's also got a crop preview. If I have delete crop pixels turned on and I click the check mark here in order to apply that, Photoshop returns that background back to its original state, and it's deleted all of those pixels. So let's use the history panel here and return to when I first opened the file. I'll tap the C key again to select the crop tool, and I'll start dragging it, but now I'm going to hold down the Option key. When you hold down the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows, it's going to crop from the center as opposed to the edge. So I'll crop it a little bit and then reposition it there. But this time I'm not going to delete the cropped pixels. So I'll uncheck that. And you'll notice that I have a different preview in my layers panel. There's no longer that background layer. I've just got the crop preview. And if I select the Move tool, you'll notice that if I reposition the image within the canvas area, that information has not been cropped. It was just hidden, and the canvas was made smaller. After applying a crop, if you have not deleted the pixels and you want to show the information outside of the canvas area, you can always choose Image and then Reveal All. And if you ever select the crop tool and you're in the process of making a crop and you just want to cancel it, you can either tap the Escape key or click the Cancel icon to cancel the crop. So there you have it. The crop tool makes it easier than ever to remove distracting elements of the image while preserving the cropped information for flexible image editing.